players online on the planet. He's super sick. He just has a little bit of hard time reining in those emotions. Both players are ready, though. So let's get into it. Game number 1, Bonith versus XuanXuan on Polestar. Spawning here in the bottom left, representing Europe and Poland in the red trunks, Bonith.
Spawning on the top left, representing China, it is XuanXuan.
My stream started lagging just because of the intensity of how sick this matchup is. There's your player cams now as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It wasn't only me. I was just like watching that, like, is my internet dying right now? Is it the winter storm outside? But no, it seems like a bit of a difficulty experiencing.
Yeah, you heard of those memes where it's like so and so breaks the internet? Well, Bonith and XuanXuan literally breaking the internet right now.
Yeah, truly. Well, hopefully this didn't translate over to the viewing experience. A lot of times when we get technical difficulties, the viewers are totally fine, which is an important part at the end of the day. Them. Yeah, lucky viewers. The clean feed sometimes isn't so clean.
Yeah. I remember we had to do the IPSL together and we just had no sound, but the viewers did. That was pretty awkward.
Oh, I was afraid that was going to happen again because there was we're having a little bit of sound issues in the beginning, but luckily that all got resolved. And no more like weird Discord shenanigans. Because Aaron was even talking about how like it just randomly happened. I tried every possible fix and nothing worked. Like at some point I think he needed to go into like his game files and delete caches or something. Like it was like a painful fix.
Yeah, luckily he got it figured out. It is super painful when that happens. Oh, look at this from XuanXuan. He's doing a bunker expand, man. He's skipping his gas. He did this in that game number 1 against Mihu to try and get a bit of an economic edge, and he's trying it here against Bonith as well in game number 1.
Oh, actually, yeah, good eye for catching that, because I saw his barracks placement, and I saw he wasn't getting gas. I was like, yeah, he's playing TVZ right now. Like my brain didn't even process that. Like this is completely unorthodox. Well, not completely unorthodox, but it's not something you usually see. Parents like their factor.
Yeah, there are different ways of doing it as well. Like someone like Mong, who's a bit of a TVP specialist, he does this weird build where he actually still gets his gas, he just gets it a little bit later, gets a fast CC, and also has a factory that's much quicker than usual. But this the style that XuanXuan is doing is the more usual version of the bunker expand that we see from a lot of gamers.
Yeah, and Bonith opting to go for a Zealot first opening, so this could actually be a little bit scary for XuanXuan since he's not going to have his Vulture out that quickly. But it doesn't seem like Bonith is really going to push the issue that hard. His Zealot is actually staying at his third base, not actually going into the Terrans.
Well, there's a chance of punishing with the Zealot Goon especially if they skimp out on their Marines a little bit here. I imagine we will make at least 3 Marines, though, from XuanXuan to go inside this bunker. But Bonith might try and, challenge and check this with the Zealot Goon combo.
Yeah, the Zealot Goon combo is actually quite scary. You don't actually need to go right away with your attack. If you have a Zealot and Goon, or two Zealots and a Goon, 1 Goon, 2 Zealots. Look, he just walks straight past the bunker, but he actually ends up cornering himself a little bit behind the mineral line. That's definitely done on purpose, though, because this Dragoon is going to be so annoying firing from the back here. But it also kind of means he's going to have nowhere to retreat.
Right, he is kind of sacrificing these units, but he is disrupting the mining in the natural expansion by doing this, and does kill the Marines, which means that not only is he lost mining time, but XuanXuan has to remake Marines, which is, still doing some damage despite losing that Zealot Goon. I was pretty confident that Bonith would commit with the Zealot Goon combo into the natural. It feels so tempting to do against the bunker expand due to how late the factory is.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising he went for this route here, because I feel like after you kill the Marines, you could maneuver and micro your Dragoon basically forever just to cause chaos. So yeah, a little bit surprised he decided to go behind the mineral line there.
Yeah, I'm curious if like there's a way you can maybe just run in straight into the main base and then, you know, defend against the Marines on the high ground trying to come up the ramp. The problem is you're then in a drill path of the SCVs to bug out the units even more. So there's like pros and cons for doing both.
Yeah, and you never want to underestimate the power of the SCV drill at this at this level of play. I feel like there are a lot of situations where we see, oh, there's units in their base, this is going to be terrible, and then like a perfect drill comes in and completely like demolishes whatever random attack you see happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we're going to have a pretty standard game going forward here. There'll be a little bit of a tax bill that XuanXuan has to pay repairing this bunker against the ranged dragoons of Bonith, but he could also try and challenge that with the tank if he wants to, but he is producing Marine right now, so he can't quite float that barracks just yet.
All right, the barracks does get floated now, and the tank does start taking pot shots at these dragoons, but he has to be very careful. 2 dragoons is more than enough to be able to kill a tank here, but he does play the dance very well and drives back the dragoons.
Yeah, looks like Bonith is set up to take a pretty quick nexus at around about 6 minutes as well. This is a pretty good timing for that. He could have made a lot more dragoons to put on pressure onto this bunker, but he's actually prioritizing getting this 3rd nexus down as quickly as possible.
So he's actually on double factory with machine shops for both of them. This feels a little bit earlier than what I'm used to. I wonder if this is some kind of, we're going to see some kind of aggression come out of XuanXuan.
Yes, it's going to be like a 5, 7, or 9 tank push, depends on how aggressive he wants to be. He's checking with 3 tanks, but he has got a 4th tank showing up. 1 tank going down. Bonith might be able to pick up the 2nd tank. Does kill 2 tanks for the low price of just 2 dragoons, definitely favoring Bonith, and that's also going to kind of sandbag the attack timing of XuanXuan a little bit. He might have been setting himself up for a 5, 7, or 9 tank push, and now that's going to be delayed.
That's actually a huge victory for Bonith. I'm not even sure if he recognized that XuanXuan was going to do something like that. But after picking off 2 tanks, this is really going to take a lot of steam out of this push. But I feel like XuanXuan is going to send it anyway. He's already unloaded the Marines out. 2 SCVs are also following up this attack, and here we go. Bonith occupying the high ground here. He's going to pick off the first SCV, but the tanks are already starting to get sieged. The siege tank actually gets picked off here. And Bonith continuing with that retreat micro here. We're going to see if he's able to hold this at his base.
He still has quite a lot of Marines to soak up the damage. He's waiting for that Reaver to load up in the shuttle. XuanXuan still does have the timing, despite not having nearly as many tanks. Going to be laying down mines in front of his tanks as well, trying to get as deep as possible and maybe set up with a turret or 2 as well to make it harder for Bonith to dislodge this contain.
Man, this is a scary push coming from XuanXuan. I feel like I might need the replay for this later because this attack is looking very, very, very strong. Bonith, I think he's in a little bit of trouble. He's waiting for his shuttle to come out to sort of bomb onto these tanks. He's going to come in here with the shuttle, going to drop out 1 Dragoon and baits out a singular mine. And a Reaver does actually come out, so he did finish the Reaver in time here. And 2 Scarabs going to knock out the 2nd tank as well, but he's going to lose it to the turrets, and a mine also goes off.
Ooh, that's pretty painful, but he does clear most of the tanks. The problem is now the Reaver goes down. XuanXuan also gets the pick off on the Dragoon, the natural, with the mine. Now the probes are exposed. Bonith in a lot of trouble right now, taking so much damage despite clearing the majority of those tanks. He's going to try and plug up the wall, but 2 Vultures are already past that and going to be causing a lot of damage. Another Reaver does pop out. He's going to try and get a good Scarab hit on those Vultures. Pretty good hit, only 1 Vulture now left alive to try and pick up some probes. Not the worst hold from Bonith, but he's still in so much trouble. XuanXuan could get the kill move on him in just a few moments.
Yeah, this Vulture causing so much trouble for him. And behind this, reinforcements continue to stream on down into Bonith's base. I'm not really sure how many options Bonith has left to defend this, so it's going to come down to the micro that we see Bonith excel at so often here. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to hold this. There's just so many units.
Yeah, this is pretty aggressive from XuanXuan. I think he's on 6 factory as well. I think he's going pretty all in with this attack to try and capitalize on this timing. Bonith did a good job of picking off some of the tanks initially, but it didn't slow down the attack enough. XuanXuan is one of the most aggressive Terrans we've seen in a long time, and you can see just how good he is at performing this style. Bonith does clear out all of the mines with one Zealot to try and start chipping away at these tanks, but the Nexus is about to fall, RiceHat.
Man, this situation is looking very bad for Bonith. We see him try to take a cheeky pick off with the Reaver there, but unfortunately, because the tanks are already sieged, there's no way for... So the normal Reaver micro you see is you hit the tanks while they're moving forward and move them back, but at this point in the game, the tanks are already in your face. So Bonith actually decides to go into the natural of the Terran to try and get some economic damage instead, but he's a little bit distracted trying to attack the turret. Ooh. And of course, the Reaver actually falls as well to a tank.
Man, XuanXuan is really well prepared for Bonith in this game, number 1. By the way, this isn't even 6 factory. This is 5 factory. This is a crazy amount of damage that he's doing with just 5 factories. Kind of surprised how easily he was able to do this much damage to Bonith despite losing those early tanks. Bonith going to go for another counter attack. He's got 2 shuttles loaded up now. I don't know if this is going to be enough. Like, sure, he might do some damage to the economy of XuanXuan, but he's losing 2 bases for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, this might be Bonith's only real move. This is the only thing he really has left in his playbook. So regardless of whether or not this can work, this has to work for him to even come back into this game.
Yeah, it looks like XuanXuan has just enough pieces on the board back at home to start to defend this, although Bonith doing a good job of picking off some of these tanks. Does clear out the majority of the forces besides some vultures. Now trying to go after some of the SCVs in the main mineral line, but the Scarab does dud out, and he's not doing nearly enough damage to XuanXuan's economy comparatively to losing 2 mining bases of his own. GG is caught in a quick lead for XuanXuan.
Wow. That was an incredible act of aggression from XuanXuan. Like, even after losing 2 tanks, he manages to pull out a really powerful attack that I think it really caught Bonith off guard.
That was super scary from XuanXuan, man. One of the best executed timing attacks I've seen, especially considering he lost a few tanks to Bonith initially. I thought it was going to delay his push a little bit, but he was like, no, I can just go with 4 tanks and a bunch of Marines to start the attack off, and my rallied units will help carry me through with the attack effort going forward. And he did an almost masterclass of doing that. And I really liked how he set up quite far back. Like, he started building the turrets kind of between the natural and the third, being a bit more tentative with the push, knowing that he needed to wait a little bit more time for those rallies to kick in.
Yeah, despite the sheer amount of aggression we witnessed, he actually pushed very carefully and very patiently. And that's something that is always a good quality when looking at Terran players here. It was very refreshing to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be going into Metropolis for game number 2. A good map for Terran, like we talked about. But who knows, maybe Bonith can get a good spawn location to help him out a little bit. If he has to expand towards the Terran, he's going to have a bad time. So yeah, hopefully he doesn't get that situation where XuanXuan's top left and Bonith is top right. That would be a nightmare situation for Bonith going forward. So I hope it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we're gonna go. Okay, never mind. For a second, I thought that was the transition to go into the game, but the players are not quite ready yet. So we're gonna wait for a little bit longer. One thing I kind of want to point out is, when did he even make all those extra Marines? Like, I didn't even see him build. Like, we saw Bonith kill 3 Marines, and I thought the extra Marines he was making was just to replace the 3 in the bunker. But by the time he got to Bonith's side of the map, it looked like he had like 6 or something. Yeah,
it's almost like he did non-stop Marine production after he lost those initial Marines. Like, he didn't just make enough to replace the bunker. He just kept churning those Marines out over and over again, only taking a small hiccup in that production to lift the barracks for the tanks to challenge the Dragoons. And I guess after he lost those tanks, he realized, I might need a little bit more Marines to actually get this push going.
Yeah, but it ended up working out for him. I mean, those Marines tanked so many goon shots and allowed his siege tanks to comfortably cross the map in its entirety and siege up basically in the face of Bonith. and even had 2 left over to take pot shots at the shuttle when it was trying to unload.
Well, I hope Bonith can turn it around. He's going to need to. Looks like both players might be ready. Yes, they are. We're going to be jumping right into our game number 2 on Metropolis. XuanXuan versus Bonith. Let's get it. Spawning here in the bottom left, the blue Protoss representing Poland, Bonith.
And the red Terran from China, it is XuanXuan.
And RiceHat, we got those unfortunate spawns for Bonith. This isn't going to be too pretty. Yeah, his natural third is all the way towards XuanXuan. And if he does decide to take like 9 o'clock instead, he's also got 2 ramps to worry about. Easy to get vultures into those positions. So let's just say Bonith is going to have a bad time.
I wonder if in this situation, instead of taking your usual, more natural third base, I wonder if Bonith could try taking the other main instead.
I mean, you can do that, but it's hard to do that against a strong opponent. It's just so far away. It's hard to defend. It doesn't feel good. You can sometimes get away with it, but there's a reason you don't see pro gamers do stuff like that. It's just not very good, and there's too much counterplay available to the Terran.
Yeah, I figure a gamer as good as XuanXuan should be able to take advantage of that situation. So I think that might just be an unfortunate L that Bonith is going to have to take for this game here. Which is it's really rough, especially given like how the first game went for him.
Yeah, I mean, he can overcome the odds. It's not like it's a guaranteed loss for Bonith because he got these spawns. This is already a bit of a Terran-sided map, and the fact that he's got the bad spawns just makes it that little bit harder, right?
Yeah, but of course that isn't the be-all, end-all. We've seen plenty of times players win the maps picked by their opponents. That actually happens quite constantly. But here we go. XuanXuan going for a much more standard opener here. So I think another thing that might have thrown Bonith off guard in that last game is the bunker expand, right? Like that's not something you normally see out of Terran, and it gives XuanXuan a significant advantage in terms of economy and makes his timing just a little bit faster than maybe Bonith was expecting.
Yeah, no, bunker expand is super good for 5-fact pushes, and this time we're not going to be having it. You know, just a normal gas factory expand probably here from XuanXuan. He's pulled off of gas, so he's not going to be doing something like a 2-factory or what have you. This is definitely going to be a factory expand build, and this lines up more nicely with Bonith's style. So yeah, maybe this will help out Bonith a lot.
Yeah, this is definitely something we're more used to seeing as Protoss, and I think going into the mid game comfortably is something that would definitely favor Bonith more than it doesn't. Here we have the Zealot coming in much quicker than the last, but this is really nice SimCity from XuanXuan. Unfortunately, he is forced to pull out of the factory, so the factory is going to be delayed a little bit by the Zealot.
It's kind of nice SimCity, but it does expose the factory ever so slightly, and he is going to get a lot of slowdown on this factory initially. But yeah, with the 2 hidey holes between the depot and refinery and barracks, he's able to force this back, just delaying his factory by a few seconds overall. Not too bad. And on the other side of the map, we've got a range upgrade coming out from Bonith on that 1-gate core tech. He looks like he's going to be taking a lot more of a conservative Nexus timing. He's not being that greedy. This is nothing like a 23 or 21 Nexus. He's going to be taking that closer to like 25 or so supply.
Yeah, Bonith decides to sack his eco just a little bit to put on more pressure. Second factory coming up from XuanXuan. It seems like we might not even get into the situation where the third base is going to become relevant, because XuanXuan's actually really ramping up the aggression this game. If we thought he was aggressive last game, you have not seen his 2-fact.
And Bonith is going Robo before Nexus. This is really spicy. Like, both players are taking a lot of liberties here, and yeah, XuanXuan selling Bonith a false bill of goods, kind of letting him come in with a Zealot and see the normal timings, but then following it up with a 2-factory definitely might catch Bonith off guard. He's trying to body block this SCV from getting in and scouting that, but I imagine the alarm bells also will be going off in XuanXuan's head, seeing how late that Nexus is. Might be tipping him off that there's something weird going on, like DTs or a fast robo.
And personally, I'm not even sure how Bonith is supposed to scout that XuanXuan is going 2-fact at this point in the game. He can't really get a probe in, and I feel like by the time the observer pops out, it might be a little bit too late.
Yeah, this is going to be so fast. The Reaver tech is going to be so fast here from Bonith, but will it matter? This 2-factory timing will hit way ahead of schedule. And yeah, I'm not sure this fast Reaver play will actually help out Bonith enough. He's going to be making the Reaver like when he's already dying to the push. I'm not so sure about this. Reaver's just now starting and the push is not that long away from arriving. If he can just buy a few valuable seconds when the attack starts, he might be able to squeeze out this Reaver in time, but it's going to be close.
Man, I think Bonith might have made a critical error here, not having units out in front for XuanXuan, because I think the #1 best defense for Protoss against pushes like this is to micro the Dragoons back to delay the push as much as possible. But the push is already at the main base of Bonith. I feel like XuanXuan might have just won the game once again.
Oh, it's kind of crazy damage already. So many probes have fallen. The Reaver is just about to pop out, but the damage has already been done. A lot of probes have gone down, trying to get a good surround on those Marines, and now he's finally got that Reaver, but XuanXuan already in his face with a couple of tanks, a Vulture and a Marine, putting on the pressure. He's going to start setting up a turret here in the main base of Bonith with a siege tank in siege mode. Bonith does find a good Scarab connection. We'll be able to pick off one of these tanks.
Yeah, Bonith playing very carefully with his Reaver here, making sure not to lose it. This Reaver is absolutely crucial for his even just staying alive in this game. XuanXuan actually being very smart with his positioning, putting the tank really, really far back behind the turret. Gonna force him to try and take pot shots at the turret before anything else happens here.
Yeah,
but now
I was going to say, oh, he's trying to clear the mine with the Reaver. I actually feel like the tank was slightly too far back because it wasn't able to shoot the Reaver while it was doing damage to the turret. And it's going to give a tiny window to actually punish this tank. He's not manually stopping the fire on his tank, so as soon as it shoots the gateway, he's sneaking in Scarab shots in between the reload time of that tank. He is starting to stabilize a little bit, but the gateway will eventually go down. There it goes.
Yeah, no more Dragoon production for Bonith here, but he does have 2 Reavers and a shuttle. So I think he should be able to clear this as long as he doesn't lose the shuttle to the turrets!
Oh my gosh.
Not like this!
Not like this. Oh, I think Bonith's dead. GG is called, and a quick 2-0 lead. A little bit of a shaking of Bonith's head with a smile. He knows he got that game with that sneaky mind game, faking a factory expand into 2-factory. Hyper aggressive play from XuanXuan, and we kind of expect nothing less from him.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that Bonith decided to move his Zealot completely away back into his main base after dealing that damage. I feel like a lot of Protoss players like to park it kind of outside of the natural. I think if Bonith managed to meet that army out on XuanXuan's side of the map instead of just right at his natural, he would have had a much better chance of holding it.
Yeah, maybe he got a micro back a little bit, but there was still quite a lot of Marines and tanks to deal with. 2-factory is really scary, and Bonith was taking liberties, man. Like, he was skipping his production a little bit, getting a really fast robo out. If kind of the only build that would have punished Bonith is that really fast 2-factory play. It was almost like XuanXuan had a perfect read on Bonith and realized that he might be sneaking out this fast Reaver, and as soon as he saw how late the Nexus was, it was like full steam ahead, pushing the gas pedal all the way down to the floor.
Yeah, this might actually be just an incredible read from XuanXuan here. I mean, we were talking earlier about how difficult it is for Protoss to play around this map if they have the wrong spawn location. And it seems like Bonith did have the wrong spawn location, and probably that tipped the calculus in the favor of doing something extra weird. And XuanXuan might have recognized that.
Yeah, Zero's saying something to Bonith in Polish. I wonder what that is. But yeah, we're gonna be going into gonna be going into knockout here. Apparently, Zero is just saying to Bonith that he's gonna, is creating some more tension for the public emotions here. Going into game number 3 now, Bonith versus XuanXuan on knockout. Let's get it started. Spawning here in the top left, fighting for his tournament life. Bonith in the red trunks.
And looking to close out the series, spawning on the bottom right, our Terran player from China, it is XuanXuan.
Now, if this was like any other Protoss, I'd be like, okay, Bonith can maybe get away with a greedy Nexus first, but it's Bonith. We're probably not seeing a Nexus first. Let's be real. He's gonna do his usual 1-gate core thing, almost no matter what.
Yeah, Bonith does. Even though he likes to play a bit of an aggressive and unorthodox mid game, he does seem to be one of those players that opens the same way every game. He just wants to get to that mid game so he can play. So he can do what he does best, which is micro reavers and Corsairs, I guess.
We see that from a lot of players, right? We see, like, if you're really good at unit control, you usually just do a safe opening to like guarantee making the unit that you're good at controlling, right?
Yeah, and I guess we see that from players like Snow a lot as well.
Yeah.
But here we go. I mean, we're cross spawn, so this is definitely going to favor Bonith and his more standard playstyle. Any kind of push that Terran might want to do is going to be very, very difficult to get all the way across the map.
Yeah, it adds a lot more seconds to that timing, which means the windows are a lot more narrow to hit with those timings. That'll help out Bonith a lot in this game. And he's actually taking an ever so slightly later gas. Like, Bonith was sometimes opening up with 11 gas. This time it's just a more standard 12 gas, so I imagine it won't be that super fast robo play this time around.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea for Bonith to play this game a little bit safer, just judging from the way XuanXuan opened the first 2 games. It really seems like he's in his element when he's playing something very aggressive and just getting in the face of Bonith. So there's not a whole lot of greed that I think Bonith can realistically get away with here.
Yeah, by the way, is XuanXuan in a bathrobe or something? It looks like he just got out the shower, threw on his headphones and was like, let's go.
Wait, that's exactly what it looks like here. He's just pro
freshen up in game time.
Yeah. No, maybe this is the exact kind of the environment that XuanXuan excels at. You know, he's just comfortable in his pajamas and ready to just game away at his computer in his room.
Yeah, I think that's why, like, you see a lot of players that are way better online than they are in tournaments. You can't really recreate the same environment at a tournament. And yeah, you tend to have like a particular style of setup back at home that makes you feel the most comfortable. And that's why we don't usually see players excel at both online and offline events. It takes a pretty rare breed to be like that. Here comes the Zealot and Probe combo from Bonith, trying to even get on top of these Marines. He might get another slowdown on this factory. Does force the SCV to back away, but just a few seconds isn't that big of a deal.
Ooh, he does actually get an SCV, so a good little victory from Bonith, and he's going to be able to retreat with this initial Zealot back over to his own base. Meanwhile, he did in fact get his Nexus pretty fast. I guess having it be cross-spawn means you can get away with a lot more greed than you would be able to normally.
Yeah, this is a slightly greedy. Oh my gosh, it's going to trigger a response. Yeah, he saw the 21 Nexus and he's just going. He's pulling the boys. XuanXuan is quite literally the most aggressive Terran you've ever seen in your life, man. He doesn't give a damn about the cross map. He's not even Nexus first and he's still going for it.
Man, the way these Marines are just like chasing back the Zealot, I don't think Bonith knows. Oh, actually, he does scout it right now, so we're going to see how Bonith responds to this. I'm expecting shield batteries to go down and the probes to get pulled, but we're going to see. I mean, this is so all in. He pulled so many SCVs.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I don't even think that getting the Nexus on the low ground would be enough for XuanXuan to equalize this situation. He needs to win the game right here, right now.
He's cancelled the Nexus, and now it kind of forces XuanXuan to commit up the ramp. He's mining out the minerals, trying to get the SCVs on top of those Dragoons to volley them back, giving himself ample time to get a bunker started on top of the gateway. Probes coming off the line now from Bonith as well. Those two Dragoons still pretty healthy. Probes trying to flank from the left, but having a hard time of it. A lot of probes going down, but so are the SCVs. He's trying to now start to pick off the Marines just before the bunker finishes. About 3 Marines do make it inside.
Oh my gosh, these 2 vultures are actually doing an insane amount of damage here. So many probes have gone down since the start of this game, and the bunker now finished is going to start picking away at these gateways here. He's going to go for the Artosis pylon, powering these 2 gateways. If he can get this pylon, that would cause a lot of trouble for Bonith here. He's actually forced to remake this. I think there's no way this pylon actually survives.
Yeah, it's going down. He has got a replacement on the way, but it's only halfway done. Bonith in a little bit of trouble here, but he can still stabilize with the ranged Dragoons, and a lot of SCVs were committed to this attack. It's not completely over just yet. XuanXuan's actually showing up with more SCVs. This is crazy. He does have to pay the price of his shields to get away from that bunker to get back into a firing position, but that's not too bad for Bonith. He might still be able to clean this up and actually go on the counter offensive.
Okay, he does manage to kill the bunker right before the SCV shows up. If that happened even a second later, I think this attack could have continued. But at this point, XuanXuan's actually forced to retreat. A tank coming up from XuanXuan's base here, but there are 4 Dragoons out, so he has to be very careful. I'm pretty sure this tank can be easily like 2-shot if it's out of position.
Yeah, 4 Dragoons easily 2-shot a tank, but some of those Dragoons are on low HP. And Bonith actually wants to get an observatory before support base so he can actually spot the mines on the way to the base of XuanXuan to go on the counteroffensive. A lot of SCVs were committed to that attack, but so many probes have died that XuanXuan doesn't have to be all in anymore. He can just take a CC and transition.
Yeah, that fight ended up going so well for XuanXuan that even though he didn't actually win, his SCV count is much, much higher than Bonith's. So that might account for the potential difference in terms of tech that they might have, because I know Bonith already has his observatory out and Reaver support bay on the way. So we're going to see. I mean, mines are also out here, but once the observer comes out, they shouldn't cause too much trouble. And the tank actually moving a little bit forward here, poking up. Second tank on the way. XuanXuan just does not let up the aggression at all. He's going to continue to push across the trench, trying to get right into Bonith's face. One of the tanks do in fact go down. The Vulture goes down, and the second tank gets damaged before these 2 Marines are going to take the hit.
Yeah, it's really good from Bonith to snipe off those 2 Vultures ahead of time. He has got the Observer soon to spot for these mines. Tank can get a little bit repaired by that SCV, but just in a second here, he will be able to clear out these mines and go on the counter offensive. XuanXuan just about to throw down that CC, so he will be ahead economically speaking, but maybe there's still an attack window for Bonith to punish. He won't be too long until that Reaver is done, and he can start to put the pressure back onto the Chinese turn.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to need it. If this command center goes down freely, Bonith is in for a world of hurt. He's just so far behind economically. He doesn't have the probe count. His Nexus is going to come after this command center. He needs to put on the pressure and try to get some counter damage done.
Ooh, and XuanXuan's going to try and punish with a Vulture run by. There is a Dragoon back on the ramp, but it does mean he picks off the probe that was going to eventually throw down the Nexus. But trading a Vulture for just 1 probe, a little bit Bonith-sided. Has got those 3 siege tanks, which is a good threshold to start to fight against something like Reaver harassment. So XuanXuan does have the tools. He's just going to have to rely on the execution, because Bonith doesn't have to harass. He could just try and dive into the natural and punish.
Seems like what Bonith is opting to do is Nexus is so very late, so he needs something, anything to get done with this push here. But turrets are already up. XuanXuan does in fact have the tools, as you say, necessary to defend whatever push Bonith is going to throw at him. So it's going to come down to the micro, and we're going to see just how Bonith is going to control this upcoming fight.
Yeah, now there's 4 tanks total. He's going to try and put on some pressure with this Reaver. Means that XuanXuan will have to split his attention between defending the natural against the Dragoons and the potential of the Reaver going into the main. Tank was super low there, but manages to start to get some repair on that with a few SCVs. It does open up the natural for Bonith to try and push in. He's getting that barrack super low on HP as well. Now starting to take a pick at an SCV or two. XuanXuan challenging with the tanks, but he does eat a massive scarab to the face. Both tanks now super low on HP. Bonith trying to capitalize in the main base. Just 1 or 2 good scarab shots could be all that Bonith needs to overcome XuanXuan right here. This tank is super dead.
Man, how the hell did Bonith manage to turn that situation on its head? He does, in fact, lose the shuttle to the Goliath, but there are now 3 goons running rampant in XuanXuan's base. I think he will eventually manage to stabilize this, but that is a pretty impressive attack coming from only 4 Dragoons and 1 Reaver and 1 shuttle against 4 tanks.
Yeah.
4.
I don't think Bonith was ever going to kill XuanXuan there, but I think he's done just barely enough damage to make this game a lot more playable. Bonith's now got his own expansion up back at home. XuanXuan did hold pretty effectively, but I mean, he forced a lot of lost mining time. He killed some SCVs. He traded off so many of the tanks, and XuanXuan's actually kind of like shifting in his chair a little bit, trying to reset himself, maybe calm his nerves after that onslaught from Bonith. And Bonith going to be taking a 3rd base in just a few moments.
Yeah, we might be looking forward to a macro game for game number 3, despite how crazy both players have opened. But it does seem like the game has mostly stabilized at this point, with Bonith taking a 3rd base and being cross spawn. I don't see any sort of like easy areas of aggression that XuanXuan could pull out.
I have to say, when the games are weird like this, it tends to favor the Protoss gamer, just because Protoss as a race is a lot more versatile when you're playing a more freestyle version of StarCraft, whereas Terran is quite rigid, and you're usually relying on like build orders and certain timings to play optimally. So it takes a very skilled individual to navigate the game from this point onwards. But maybe XuanXuan's got the prowess to still overcome the fact that it won't be so obvious what he should do when.
I mean, a good first step is, of course, sneaking out that vulture from the contain. He's going to be able to come into the natural, and unfortunately, the 1 Dragoon is going to be able to block him, but he should be able to see that this 3rd Nexus is on the way. Yes, he does.
Okay, that's some big scouting information there from XuanXuan. That's going to help him dial in a little bit more for how he should execute this 5 factory. I expect nothing less for him to follow up his initial aggression with more aggression. You know, it kind of just fits into his play style. He's going to go for another big push timing, but it might be slow enough that Bonith can get his own gateway count online back at home and have more than enough units to thwart this when it finally comes online.
Yeah, I think this time around it's gonna look a lot different from XuanXuan's other pushes, because now Bonith is in his comfort zone, right? He has his Reavers, his Reaver tech, he has his 3 base setup, he has his units outside of the natural of XuanXuan to spot any kind of move out. So I feel like if XuanXuan decides to push out, it's going to be a very difficult attack to execute against someone like Bonith.
Yeah, we got Observer getting good vision on this, but we also have 4 Goliaths. They can easily shut down Observers, and also 2 shot down shuttles. So Bonith gonna have to be really careful about how he engages with the Reavers and shuttles. Ideally, he'll want to pick off 1 or 2 of those Goliaths as XuanXuan's moving out, just to make it a little bit harder for him to capitalize on that. Beautiful scan from XuanXuan, seeing the high ground positioning of the Protoss player to tip him off exactly how he should be mobilized here. He's gonna, I think, ignore this position from Bonith and start to mount an attack just across these bridges.
Yeah, that Observer going to see that XuanXuan has completely side-skirted his high ground positioning here. So we're going to see how Bonith is going to react to this. Most of XuanXuan's units are actually like already on the side of his base, but Bonith is going to go for some sort of backstab here. He has his Reaver, or 2 Reavers and a shuttle, to try and deal as much damage as possible, but Vultures have already started to infiltrate the natural base of Bonith, and these Zealots don't even have speed. At the same time, Bonith going for a bust on his own. I think we're going to see a bit of a base trade here.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a base trade scenario. A lot of mines and turrets to slow down the advance of the Protoss player back at home. Bonith got a few Dragoons on the high ground, going to try and see if he can siphon off some of the tank count here of XuanXuan and get rid of the DPS, but he's not having an easy time of it. Both players doing quite a lot of damage to one another. XuanXuan pretty entrenched with 2 tanks in his main base, doing a good job of holding off against Bonith, but Bonith might be able to start punching through a little bit with just 1 or 2 good Scarab connections.
I think losing the shuttle might be huge for Bonith here, because I don't know if he has a way to easily dislodge the Terran position here. Meanwhile, the reinforcements should be able to deal with the Protoss accordingly, and it does look like he gets the cleanup. So now Bonith is a little bit on the back foot here. He needs to figure out a way to break this position before he loses everything.
Man, Bonith is in so much trouble right now. We might be seeing a 3-0. It's certainly possible. He's having a hard time recovering against the onslaught of XuanXuan. The counterattack base trade did not go his way at all. It does mean he sacrificed his 3rd base as a result. XuanXuan just trying to run it down with a lot of rallied vultures coming across the board right now. There is a Reaver for Bonith, but he doesn't have shuttle support.
Yeah, this attack is going really well for XuanXuan, and his reinforcements are coming up and setting up mines outside of Bonith's natural here. And even though like this is going to be a very difficult position to push into as the Terran player, you don't actually need to push in here. You could just be satisfied with containing the Protoss off of 2 base while you get your own expansion and win the game from there pretty comfortably.
Yeah, this looks pretty insurmountable for Bonith right now. XuanXuan is just set up so nicely, and the Goliath is buying a lot of time for a turret to be set up as well. Bonith's going to have a real rough run of it trying to break out of this contain. XuanXuan getting closer and closer to actually killing this Nexus in the natural, so Bonith has to go. Leg enhancements kick in. He's running it down with some Zealots now on top of these tanks, also landing a Reaver. Pretty beautiful Scarab shot. Actually does do a good job of picking off these tanks. Hang on a minute. Bonith actually breaks the contain pretty cost efficiently. What is happening?
Man, that I looked at that situation and I was like, there is no universe in which Bonith is able to win from this point onwards. But he proves us wrong time and time again with just like incredible decision making. He knows exactly when he had the critical mass required to basically clean up the Terran player and basically exercise him from that position there. Like, my God. And now he's going to take back his 3rd, but not before XuanXuan actually lifts up his main to take his 3rd. And I think this is actually a very smart decision from him, because it's going to allow him to start mining from that base much quicker.
Yeah, his main base got mined out way ahead of schedule because of the early game aggression. There was obviously more, mineral saturation in the main base, so it mined out a little bit quicker. But it does mean that, he's only locked onto 1 gas mining. He's not going to be able to produce that many tanks or Goliaths for quite a while. Whereas Bonith still has that 2 gas available to him, which means that, XuanXuan's going to be relying a lot more on vultures to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, but I think, honestly, that's still in XuanXuan's element. An aggressive Terran player like him loves working with vultures and running around trying to get damage. And
I think both statements are true. I think aggressive Terrans like him as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Despite that, though, Bonith also only has this mineral only to work with. Of course, Zealots are a little bit of an easier unit to sort of work around compared to the Vulture. But Bonith is going to be itching for a 4th base much quicker.
Yeah, that much is true, and especially because of the natural for XuanXuan will be mining out a little bit slower than usual. Gives him a bigger window to get something done and kind of punish Bonith whenever he tries to move out and establish himself out on the map or trying to take a 4th base. We see a big engagement in the center of the board here. Both Reavers trying to be leveraged, but there's so much meat on the bone for him to try and chew through. There's not a lot of tanks, but there's so many vultures screening for what few tanks he has mustered.
Yeah, that is a scary amount of vultures. I think XuanXuan might actually have more vultures than Bonith has units, but never underestimate Bonith's Reaver micro here. There's still ways for him to come back and defeat this army if he controls correctly, but unfortunately his natural is wide open and it allows 4 vultures to sneak on by and get mines up at the ramp. this is incredibly an incredibly scary situation for Bonith as XuanXuan begins to push up back up into the triangle where he set up his position before.
Yeah, luckily for Bonith, he did have a rally that was able to plug up the ramp and stop too much critical damage from occurring with the vultures getting inside the main base, but doesn't really matter. Bonith actually trying to go into arbiters right now for a little bit of a utility edge over XuanXuan, but this entrenched position from XuanXuan going to get scarier and scarier. A lot of turrets are on the way as well. There is quite a sizable army that Bonith could try and flank with from the right-hand side and maybe get on top of some of these tanks, but he hasn't got a lot of speed shuttles to just Zealot bomb on top of these tanks. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, those 4 turrets in that triangle area there is absolutely insane. I mean, XuanXuan knows exactly the kind of playstyle Bonith likes to play, so he's not going to take any chances with with potential Reaver Micro here. Bonith's going to come in with a bunch of speed zealots, but unfortunately, they're not going to be enough to break this position. Meanwhile, his main army is actually in between or around the center area, trying to cut off reinforcements. But that might be the best move here, but it still means that he's not going to be able to defend his third base, which might go down a second time.
Yeah, Bonith cutting off reinforcements from XuanXuan, but it might not matter, man. Very close to losing this Nexus in the natural. Going for a big counterattack at the mineral only of XuanXuan to see if he can poke through the defensive line. Looks like there's just too much defenses set up. Arbiter going down to a turret. That's terrible for Bonith. He's getting some Zealots on top of some siege tanks. Going to be killing a couple of those, but he's not even mining from his mineral expansion anymore. His main is effectively mined out. This is going to be a GG situation for Bonith. He taps out. XuanXuan winning over Bonith 3-0 and going through to the grand finals to get a rematch against Mihu.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate end for Bonith here. I know we all had very high hopes for him, but I think Bonith just wasn't ready for the sheer amount of aggression that XuanXuan put in